self-proclaimed maker of things, Eva Zeisel dedicated her life to what she called the playful search for beauty. Designing for over 80 years until her final days in 2011, at age 105, Eva was renowned for her work as a ceramicist, but also designed furniture, textiles, lighting, tiles, glassware, and more. She was driven by an undying curiosity and filled her work with organic shapes, sensuality, and elegance. Zeisel's work took the clean shapes of modernism, infused with a romantic and feminine warmth, to the homes of middle-class Americans in the 1940s, and her work is ever popular today. Eva Zeisel was born Eva Amelia Stryker in Budapest in 1906 into a wealthy intellectual Hungarian Jewish family. Her mother, Laura Stryker, was a political activist, feminist, and historian, and the first woman to be awarded a PhD in Hungary. Her father, Alex Stryker, owned a successful textile company. Zeisel was raised in a progressive and liberal household. Her parents believed children should be able to play freely and creatively express themselves. Nudity was encouraged so that Eva would never be ashamed of her body. This freedom and sense of play, encouraged as a child, was always present in Zeisel's designs, as was her positive relationship with the body, seen in her affectionate representation of human curves. In 1923, at 17, Eva enrolled in the Hungarian Royal Academy of Fine Arts to study painting. Her paintings were largely self-portraits that had a feminine yet very bold style, a style that was seen to influence Zeisel throughout her career. She left the academy, however, after 18 months to pursue an apprenticeship in ceramics with Jacob Karapancic, the last remaining pottery master in the Hungarian Guild of chimney sweeps, oven makers, roof tilers, well diggers, and potters. Eva made this decision following advice from her mother to learn a trade that could support her, and after finding inspiration in her aunt's collection of Hungarian peasant pottery. Eva graduated this apprenticeship as a journeyman and was the first woman to be accepted into the guild. Following her training, Eva began working, first in Hungary in her own studio, then in 1928 for the Schramberg Company in Germany's Black Forest, who hired her to design tableware. This position transformed Eva from a studio artist into an industrial designer, learning to draft designs for mass production. In 1930, Zeisel moved from the Black Forest to Weimar, Berlin. Here, she designed for Carsten's China Works and immersed herself in the vibrant culture of the city. She was exposed to the ideas of the Bauhaus and became impassioned by the concept of bringing good design into the homes of working-class people. Whilst drawing influence from the modernist ideas arising out of Germany during this time, Eva rejected the philosophy of form follows function, believing beauty to serve an important function in its own right. In this way, Eva established herself as a modernist with a small m. She shared in the preoccupation with objects of the everyday, yet beauty, rather than a formal understanding of functionality, was her guide. Her work began to favour soft, simple curves and took a more delicate and subtle form than her designs for the Schramberg Company, utilising less colour and softer shapes. She realised that the clean lines of modern design could be successfully combined with sensuous classic shapes, and so this became Eva's signature, forms that were both contemporary and sentimental. Eva visited the Ukraine in 1932, enchanted by the folk art she saw emerging from the Soviet Union, and she chose to settle there. Firstly, she secured a position in the Imperial Porcelain Factory in Leningrad. Then, after taking increasingly important jobs, in 1935, Eva was named artistic director of the centralized Soviet china and glass industry. In her words, Eva stated, "Stalin wanted every Russian peasant to have a cup and a bowl, and I designed them." Her career came to a sudden halt, however, when she was arrested in 1936 under trumped-up charges of conspiring to kill Stalin. Eva spent a shattering 16 months in a Soviet prison cell, mostly in solitary confinement, engaging her mind by designing objects, playing chess games in her head, and rolling up small pieces of bread to play tic-tac-toe, pretending that it was clay. Believing she was being taken to be executed on September 17, 1937, Eva was released from her cell and placed on a train to Vienna. Miraculously and inexplicably, she was free. Shortly after arriving in Austria with the Nazi Party on the rise, Eva moved on, fleeing the very same day Hitler marched in. During her short time in Vienna, Eva reconnected with an old friend, Eva Zeisel, who cared for her following her time in prison. Eva moved first to the UK, where she married Hans, and then to New York, where she would see her career reach new heights. Soon after she arrived in New York, Eva contacted ceramics manufacturers in the United States and soon landed work designing a children's tea set and a job teaching ceramics as industrial design at the Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. Her design work soon attracted the attention of Elliot Noyes, the director of design at the Museum of Modern Art, who, upon being asked by Castleton China to recommend a designer to create a line of modern dinnerware, recommended Eva. Thus, Eva came to design the critically acclaimed museum table service, produced in 1946. The success of this saw Eva to become the first solo female designer to exhibit a show at MoMA, and brought Eva many commissions and huge sales successes then on. During the 40s, Eva also became a mother, first to her daughter Jean and then to her son John. Motherhood had an enormous impact on her designs. "All of my work is mother and child," Eva stated in 1999. We see this in her works, including the hugely successful and now iconic range of tableware, Town and Country, designed in the 1940s, featuring salt and pepper shakers that nestle like mother and child. Ceramic pieces depicting birds craning over one another, and even a wall divider featuring belly buttons as decoration. Eva Zeisel continued designing across a multitude of platforms for the rest of her long life, and always at the heart of her work was what MoMA promoted in the post-war period as good design. Domestic objects that were beautiful as well as useful, and whose beauty lent pleasure to everyday life. Indeed, Eva's table service museum line can easily be seen to align with Dieter Rams' principles of good design developed in the 1970s. The museum service is, as Rams insists good design must be, thorough down to the last detail. All of Zeisel's designs were meticulously planned on paper and finished by hand. Reproductions were then examined by Eva herself and painstakingly checked for quality and adherence to her design. The museum service was no exception to this, and is a testament to Eva's eye to detail, each curve and line lovingly crafted and perfectly produced. Good design is long-lasting. The sleek lines of the service are beautiful without being trend-based. It is a timeless piece that is still in production today. Eva herself, when asked what the word quality meant to her, replied, "Quality means having a purpose forever." She did not design throwaway products. Good design must have aesthetic value. The museum service is not just tableware, but indeed a piece of art. Zeisel's focus on beauty and design allowed her to create a design that was usable and accessible by everyday families, and yet beautiful and sophisticated, in a way that only well-executed design can be. Arguably, the aesthetic quality of work was Eva's leading principle for creating good design. Good design is design that makes a product understandable. Whilst being beautifully formed with sensual curves, there is no mistaking the function of Eva's museum service. It is dinnerware, self-explanatory, yet by no means basic. Another of Ram's principles evident is that good design must be honest. Eva doesn't claim to reinvent the teapot or the coffee pot. Her design's function is honest and makes no false promises. Its promise is to be timeless and beautiful crockery, and it is just that. As a young designer, I found myself captivated by Eva's undying playfulness in her search for good design. Moving forward in my practice, I will endeavour to embrace this nature and search for beauty in many ways. Like Zeisel, I am interested in finding beauty in organic forms through clean line work and soft curves. I enjoy finding beauty in things I see every day, for instance, the entrance to my house, interiors, plants, and so on. I also prefer to work first by hand, just as Eva would draw her initial plans. I hope I can learn from you, Eva, and continue to be playful, curious, and tenacious through to the end of my life.